Hello and welcome to the Geeks Review. I'm Royce.
And I'm Joshua.
In 1978, or 79 here in Australia, audiences were thrilled and terrified by John Carpenter's Halloween, thanks to its thrilling direction and haunting score. It introduced the world to actress Jamie Lee Curtis and the horror icon Michael Myers, spawning a series of sequels, none of which lived up to the original. One came close, 2018's Halloween, co-written by comedic actor Danny McBride of TV shows like The Righteous Gemstones and Eastbound and Down. It saw the return of Jamie Lee Curtis as Laurie Strode, and the introduction of Judy Greer as her daughter Karen, and Andy Matichak as her granddaughter Allison. The film was obviously successful enough to spawn two sequels, the first of which, Halloween Kills, we'll be talking about today.
Yes.
Joshua, what did you think of this movie?
I was at a disadvantage because I didn't realise that this was a direct continuation from 2018.
And you haven't seen it?
That's correct.
Oops.
Yeah, major oversight on our part.
I probably should have asked you about that one.
Probably should have, but I was not let down by this film. Having only seen the original by, many moons ago, was lucky enough to catch it on SBS On Demand during their Halloween Spectacular 2 years ago.
Ah, yes.
I was enthralled by the brutality that they're now able to pull off with these films.
Yeah, I mean, the very first Halloween film is notoriously bloodless, and I mean, there's no gore, there's a bit of blood here and there.
Yeah.
But it's more about the thrills and the suspense, and it's still very thrilling and suspenseful to this day.
True thriller back then, but now it's added a bit more to it.
Yeah, 2018 sort of upped the ante, but it kind of kept things muted still. I mean, Michael famously isn't as prolific or inventive a killer, as someone say, as Jason.
Or Freddy Krueger, or even Jigsaw.
Yeah, they're a lot more inventive with their kills, whereas Michael is just punch, throttle, stab. You know, that's his deal.
Crush a dude's skull in.
Yeah, well, he did that in 2018, which was kind of, whoa, that's Michael, you did that. And this one is really gory and violent.
Yes.
If you go to slasher movies, if you go to horror movies for that kind of thing, I guess you won't be disappointed going into this one.
Walk away disappointed, that's for sure.
But yeah, it's a direct continuation.
I picked up on that halfway through when I realized, oh, this is the house from 2018, because I saw it in the trailer. What just happened?
You do get a few flashbacks to remind the viewer.
There's also a few flashbacks going back to the older films with Donald Pleasant somewhat returning as Dr. Loomis.
Yeah, the flashback scenes were interesting, weren't they?
Yeah.
They kind of had that film grain effect over it. They kind of gave it that old film look. I mean, it's all shot in digital, but it's a digital
Definitely
effect.
Makes it feel like a memory.
It sort of has like that glowing silver quality to it that kind of sets it apart from the modern day stuff, which is all, I guess, a lot more orange. It kind of seems to be the colour theme.
Yeah.
With the street lights and with the jack-o'-lanterns and a lot of blood.
A lot of blood.
Plot-wise, a bit light.
Very.
It feels a lot more like a connecting film to the big finale, which is coming next year, allegedly. I did remember reading that when they first did this reboot back in 2018, they were going to do two films back-to-back. But they kind of thought, well, the last few films in this series haven't been very good. What happens if this comes out? It's not very good, no one likes it. Yeah. So they just did the one, and when it was a success, they went and got greenlit for two. But yeah, as a result, this just kind of feels like connective tissue leading to the big finale.
There's not a lot of real big payoff if you're looking for something substantial other than Michael's on the loose. That's it. Not even kids are safe from his mass sides.
No, it's definitely the most brutal he's ever been. I mean, even compared to the Rob Zombie movies, like, nothing he really did stands up to what he does in the first few minutes of this film.
We don't see the children's death, but there is a child death in the film.
Well, in 2018, there's actually a father and son who are driving down a darkened road and come across a prison bus, which Michael was in, and the father goes into the darkness and disappears, and the son, who must be only like 13 or 12, goes out himself and is killed by Michael, and it's kind of a real, whoa, okay, we're not mucking around this time, he's really just letting loose. Speaking of letting loose, there is a scene I wanted to talk about and kind of warn people who might be going in to go see this movie, Halloween Kills. There's a scene of self-harm at about the 79 to 80 minute mark, which people might find distressing, and we're going to try and be mindful of what we say because we're on the radio, there's, people of all ages listening. Yeah. So firstly, obviously, with movie violence, of which we've sort of spoken a bit about already, and gore and all that stuff, is
Yes.
in the movies, it's not real. It's
No.
actors, makeup, visual effects. But, obviously some people can still be squeamish at that, even if the effect isn't very realistic. Just the implication can be enough for some people.
Particularly when you've got fellas that have been in the industry for so long that they are able to really push that line of, is it real or is it not?
Well, yeah, I mean, I used to be really squeamish with gore in movies.
And you watched horror.
Well, it was sort of the gateway of opening up to it and learning the behind the scenes and kind of seeing like the books of Tom Savini, who did Friday the 13th and created all these effects and that. And I can kind of go into it now and appreciate there's an artistry to it and sort of go, oh, that was impressive. I wonder how they did that,
Tom Savini being one of the most more prolific people of the practical effects community.
Yeah, definitely. Critters, I think, was a film of his. Obviously, Friday the 13th, he created the look of Jason as a child and later as an adult in Part 4. We've spoken about those films many times on this show.
Absolutely.
More than I expected we would, to be honest.
That is a lot.
But yeah, obviously with film violence and gore, it's fake, but it's not all created equal. Like a gory scene in like Hot Fuzz is different to Saving Private Ryan.
Yes.
It's different to Deadpool, it's different to Kill Bill.
It's the context in which the film presents it in. With films like Deadpool, it's played off for laughs and a little bit of a shock humour. While films like Saving Private Ryan, it's not shying away from the reality of the story that it's trying to give you.
Which in Halloween Kills, which is the film we're talking about for anyone who might have tuned in now,
Yeah.
there's sort of a weird moment with this scene about 79 to 80 minutes into this film where a character falls to their death from a tall building.
Yes.
And
The hospital.
yeah, it's well, for anyone who might be going to see this movie in cinemas, it's when a character is shut into a corridor with both doors at either side locked and there's an angry mob. So if you're a bit squeamish of like, someone leaping to their death, understandably, maybe take a toilet break then.
Yeah.
Because the scene itself is quite tragic in the way it's set up, it's understandably so, but then it cuts to the bloody aftermath and shows it in full detail.
I would say glory, but oof.
Yeah, it's
Even
probably...
I had to take a double take on it just to hold my lunch in.
It's probably the goriest scene in the film, and it's only a few seconds, but it's just... It's different compared to what Michael's doing. When Michael's killing people, it's kind of like, oh my god, that was horrific, but you can enjoy it. And this is like, oh, this is really...
It's tragic.
And quite realistic. And, I had a friend who saw this and didn't know that was going to be in it, was quite distressed. They had to stop for a bit. Which is kind of not what you want with this movie, where you go for a bit of escapism, horrific escapism, and you get reminded of something which might be a bit too close for home for some people. So,
yeah.
Be mindful, this is Halloween Kills we're talking about at the 79 to 80 minute mark. There's a scene of self-harm. If that's a bit much for you, take the break when there's a character locked in a corridor with an angry mob at either side. But yeah, which kind of put a bit of a dampener on the film for me as well, because... yeah, there's a lot of really gory scenes in this, like a scene involving a fluorescent tube light.
Probably one of the more creative uses I've seen.
Because this is directed by David Gordon Green, who has directed, among other things, Your Highness, with James Franco, Danny McBride, and Natalie Portman, as well as Pineapple Express with Seth Rogen, and that was also the actor whose name I just said and completely forgotten.
Danny McBride.
Danny McBride and Harry Osborn. What was his name? James Franco, that's the one. Yeah, that's the one. There's a scene in that movie towards the end where they're fighting in like a drug manufacturing plant, and Seth Rogen's character and the villain have both got like fluorescent light tubes, and they go to have a sword fight, and he immediately swings the light back and breaks it. It's just, I wonder if that's all connected, all tied together.
Self-referential.
Because these films are very... 2018 is basically filled with a reference to every Halloween film that came before it. There's... there's a scene in a bathroom, which is kind of a reference to H20, where Michael steals a car, and in 2018 he gets a bit more brutal, a bit more hands-on. But even just the whole way it's set up is very reminiscent to a similar scene in Halloween 4. I don't know if you've seen all these films, so I might just be speaking gibberish. But for the Halloween fan out there, Halloween Kills bears a lot of similarities to Halloween 4, where there's an angry mob seeking, mob justice against Michael, which leads to a big confrontation at some point in the movie, in both movies, with, unexpected outcomes. It's kind of tricky with this movie because, as we've said, plot-wise, there's not much to it, because it's more of a connective film.
It is.
But were any moments that sort of stood out to you, or...?
Definitely the mob violence. Michael's, I guess you could say, first kills of the of this film, at least, with the firefighters.
Yes.
That was... Oh.
You didn't expect that, did you?
I didn't flinch, but I applauded the creativity, turning the fire axes and even the circular saw back on them. Yeah,
that was brutal, that one.
That was.
And then you cut to the aftermath and there's like bits everywhere and it's like, what did he do? Did he just,
He made him into fertilizer. The one thing I did hate about this was the hammered in mob mentality or mob stupidity.
Yeah.
And those three kids, man.
Those kids,
man.
Are brilliantly acted because of how friggin' annoying they were.
Yeah, they are. Bravo to the child actors, but...
Not bad actors, but...
For you, kids. Yeah. There's a masked maniac on the loose and you're just gonna have fun?
Bleep.
Yeah, censor myself.
I remember when the teaser came out and there was that scene and it's like, oh, we're playing hide and seek with the man over there. There he is. And I'm like, oh no, it's naive kids being targeted by Michael. And in the film, it's like, no, they're mockingly talking about, someone who warned them about Michael and Michael's there for real. And it's like, oh, get out of there. Run like hell. Kyle Richards, probably best known for being on one of the Real Housewives show. She was the young girl in the original Halloween. Same actress. Obviously, Anthony Michael Hall, he's not the original Tommy Doyle, who was the young boy that Laurie was babysitting in the very first Halloween movie. But she's the same girl. She's the same actress.
Well.
And she was really good, I thought, for how little she was in the film.
That definitely makes me feel a little bit better of going, they're important, but I don't know why.
Yeah, well, also the nurse is the same nurse that Michael stole the car from in the very first film, and she's shown up every now and then. She was in Halloween 2 back in 1981. She was killed along with Joseph Gordon-Levitt in age 20, 23 years ago. Yeah, there's a lot of callbacks like that, and it's definitely the continuing story, so keep that in mind going into this. If you've seen the first John Carpenter one, if you've seen 2018's, this is it here. What did you think of the John characters?
Oh, the Johns, yes. The lovely gay couple that happened to live in Michael's house. I saw it as more as the next poor iteration of people that happened to live in the house that had the gruesome murders, much like with the Nightmare on Elm Street.
Oh, yeah, true.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was always someone living in that house. Jesse and part 2 of that one.
Yeah.
Freddy's coming back for him just because he happens to live there. Yeah, the actor, actually, who played Big John, who was the one singing and dancing with the cheese knife. Yeah, he was in The Righteous Gemstones, and he's in El Camino, which is the Breaking Bad spin-off movie. Okay. Yeah, he plays quite a prominent character in that. It's fun to see him show up.
Hey, at least they had a buddy system. Calling out to each other until...
Practical effects.
At finest.
Yeah,
Granted, I did make a little bit of a joke when I did see Big John get killed.
Oh yeah, I see you've redecorated my house. It's quite lovely. Here, I just need to talk to you because you've got a good eye for this.
Yeah, that was brutal.
It was.
But yeah, it's all, if you love practical effects and no CGI, there's very little CGI in this, and it's all...
Carpenter does his best.
Well, David Gordon Green, who's... Yeah. Carpenter does all the music now.
And with Cody, his son.
Yeah. Yeah, he's become a rock star in recent years.
Good on him.
Yeah, his tracks are always quite minimal, but I mean, I occasionally listen to tracks from Escape from New York, especially the main theme. And
they
when
leave a big impact on you.
Yeah, simple, but yeah, definitely impactful. and he sort of pulls out all the stops in this one. And 2018, there's a lot of great tracks. The main theme in this, again, sort of paying homage to the original movie with the pumpkin. Now you've got 12 pumpkins to signify it's the 12th Halloween movie, and they're all on fire in some degree. And yeah, the tune itself is a lot more somber in comparison to like 2018, which is just so, it's like a gut punch of like an explosion of
Guess
stuff.
it's more of a aftermathy type of deal.
Well, yeah, talking of aftermath, it kind of leaves me wondering where this is going to go for the future.
Don't know, because they've axed off quite a few of the original cast now.
Everyone knew he was kind of introduced, ended up dead. The lady who was in the tube light scene, she was actually a minor character in 2018's movie. She was a cemetery attendant who showed these true crime podcasters who are making a podcast on Michael Myers. You know, this is the grave where his sister is buried that he killed. And yeah, she gets taken out here, which is kind of like, anyone who sort of comes in close proximity to him is going to be...
The one freaky thing that actually did get me was the use of of Michael as a kid ghost standing in the window staring out.
Yeah?
That was probably the one thing that made me just... No!
Supernatural horror too much for you? Or
No, it was more... I didn't expect it.
Yeah, that was a strange ending. I mean, we're sort of talking openly about all bits and pieces of the film because...
We're trying to be light on spoilers, but we can still talk about...
Well, definitely, I mean, warning people. I mean, going into a slasher movie, as we've spoke about earlier...
Oh, yeah.
There's going to be violence, there's going to be bloody gore, you know, that kind of thing. And
Everyone's entitled to one good scare on Halloween.
yeah, Charles Cyphers comes back. He's like in his 80s, which was really surprising to see. He played Sheriff Brackett in the very first Halloween movie. And, yeah, here he is as a security guard.
At the hospital.
Yeah. I believe it was, because they shoot this in South Carolina, I believe, as opposed to California where they shot the first few films, and Illinois where the film is actually set.
Yeah.
Quite different geographically, but South Carolina looks a lot more Illinois-ish, and they also film it in the winter time, so it does have that appropriate autumn look. It's funny actually, in the 1978 flashbacks, I think it looked like they filmed it in the summer, because that's when the original Halloween was shot. It was shot in the summer of 78 before the film came out. So it's meant to be autumn, Halloween, but all the trees are green. All the leaves that are over the grass were like painted
That must
brown.
have been Halloween in Australia then.
Yes. That's the excuse. But yeah, when they do the flashback, it seems like there's a lot of green foliage and really good attention to detail there.
There is a lot of good attention to detail.
People are complaining, though, about, you know, some bad lines of dialogue here and there. It's a horror film. What do you expect?
Yeah. It's a horror film. You're not coming here for the dialogue.
No. But people saying, like, why didn't the nurse say, this is for Dr. Loomis when she goes to shoot Michael? And people are like, oh, in this continuity, she's just was an acquaintance of him. She wasn't his friend. And it's like, you're making a lot of assumptions based on nothing. A friend of mine actually pointed out this. There's a similarity between this movie and The Last Jedi, which you might find interesting.
Okay.
Halloween Kills picks up immediately after 2018 left off, which is the same deal for Last Jedi and The Force Awakens.
Yeah.
There's no sex scenes, and there's no Laurie meeting Michael in Halloween Kills. There's no proper lightsaber duels, which are kind of the same sort of thing, comparing the two. So it picks up immediately after the first. There's no, you know, things you typically associate, which is the confrontation between Laurie and Michael, or the lightsaber duels in that. Flashbacks show a character making a split-second decision, which leads to horrific events happening in the future. So, Luke.
Yeah.
Luke has a moment of doubt about his nephew, Kylo Ren, who obviously goes on to become the big villain of that series. And in this, the police officer Hawkins, you know, makes a split-second decision to save Michael's life or spare him, and leads to all the events to happen here. Which kind of makes me think that in the next film, the sibling connection is going to be revealed between Laurie and Michael, and Dr. Loomis is going to come back from the dead, and what else?
Pure evil. Damn it. That's a true bit ruined for me now.
Oh dear.
We were doing so well, and then you had to point out that connectivity.
You've just been sitting here with your eyes rolling back like, no. No. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see where they take the series in future.
We will.
Because they're apparently quite adamant that this is going to be the end of the series. With Halloween Ends next year. I'm not sure if they filmed it or not yet, though, so...
We'll have to find out.
Final thoughts on Halloween Kills?
Definitely killed it.
In which way?
Good.
So it's not totally ruined for you, then?
Oh, no. It's just that I'm going to be unable to unconnect the dots now.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if you were rolling your eyes like, oh, this is a stretch. And I'm like, no, that is eerily similar. They just take the same. They did do the flashbacks quite well, although he was wearing blue overalls in the flashbacks when he's wearing green in the original, but that's just a nitpick.
Hey.
But anyway, Halloween Kills will be in cinemas soon, and it might be on streaming here in Australia. It is in America, but who knows? Anyway, check it out if you want. Keep in mind that it is a sequel to 2018 and the original one. So if you're going to go watch any Halloween movies, check out those ones. The other one's called Halloween. Just not Rob Zombie's Halloween.
No.
Stay far away from that one. If you can even find it anywhere. I don't think it is anywhere.
It's on Stan.
Oh, of course, yeah. Yeah, the original's on Stan.
Yes, most of them are.
Yeah, even Season of the Witch.
Oddly enough.
Yeah, maybe we should talk about that one. Check that one out. If you feel like putting yourself through that.
I'm going to need a lot of food and maybe a puff or two if I'm going to go through Season of the Witch.
From what I've heard, it's a lot better than people said it was. You know, it holds up now.
We'll see about that.
Also, we have a Facebook page, that's the Geeks Review on City Park Radio. You can find us there, where we're going to be posting all our old episodes, all our new episodes, as well as anything else that comes along. If we pose a question to you guys, you know, and we want some answers, you know, you can drop there and leave us your thoughts on the films we talk about. We talked about Halloween Kills today. Anyway, I'm Royce.
And I'm Joshua.
And we'll see you next time. Bye for now.